The Siku Kwanshu is an exhaustive 18th century encyclopedia that attempted to compile and categorize all written Chinese knowledge into a single framework. It stands as the most massive structural ordering of knowledge in Chinese imperial history. At the absolute peak of this four-part literary taxonomy is the Jingbu, the dedicated section for the foundational Confucian classics. These texts were treated as the untouchable core of civilization. Nested high within this elite echelon is a subcategory known as Yuelei. Yuelei translates directly to books on music, and its placement puts it alongside the most critical texts of philosophy and statecraft. This high-ranking position stems from a core Confucian axiom. Ritual experts viewed music as the empirical base for cosmic and social harmony, a discipline distinct from artistic expression. Right beside solid entries for the Yi Jing and Shangshu, the Classic of Changes and the Book of Documents, the node for the foundational primary text, the Yuejing, is empty. The Yuejing is the theoretical music classic. The Yuejing is a ghost text. It exists as a title within the imperial bibliography, but it lacks a physical volume. This raises a difficult question. Why would imperial bibliographers build a highly technical classification system around a core text that nobody could actually read? This void dictates the function of the Yuelei category. It represents a centuries-long intellectual project to reconstruct a lost universal standard. Scholars in the Han and Zhou dynasties operated under two historical assumptions. Either the physical Yuejing was permanently lost, or the term Yue originally referred strictly to the musical notation for the Shijing. The Shijing is the ancient book of songs. To fill the canonical void left by the missing volume, scholars began extracting musical theory directly from surviving ritual manuals. The most prominent result is the Yueji, or Record of Music. It is not a standalone book, but rather a specifically preserved chapter within the Liji, a classic compilation of court rituals. The second strategy for recovering this lost knowledge involved relying on the summaries compiled by early historiographers. The historian Sima Qian extracted what he could find into the Yueshu, or Book of Music. He incorporated it directly into his sweeping Han Dynasty historical record, the Shiji. Philosophers also heavily debated the utility of these sounds. The Zhou period produced polarized arguments, like Mo Di's Fei Yue, which translates to against music, and Xun Kuang's Yuelun, a discourse on music. Because the foundation of Chinese musicology was stitched together from strict ritual rulebooks and historical chronologies, the discipline oriented itself toward governance. The Siku Kwanshu enforced a rigid sorting algorithm for its musical texts. Any manuscript dealing with actual musical performance was filtered out of the classic section. Instructional manuals detailing how to play specific instruments were downgraded in the library's hierarchy. Books focused on the guiqin, the seven-stringed Chinese zither, were excluded. For example, Zhu Chongwen's Song Dynasty text, Qinshi, didn't make the cut into the highest tier. Instead, these zither manuals were pushed into the Yishulei, a separate library category for treatises on art. This classification severed the physical act of playing an instrument from foundational philosophy. Vocal performances, lyrical songs, and theatrical arias faced an even steeper drop in the classification system. The compilers relegated these vocal texts to the belles lettres and collections category, distancing them from the rigorous study of Yue. By systematically expelling the physical act of playing and the joy of singing from the Jingbu, the Imperial Library defined classical musicology as an abstract science, divorced from entertainment. After this filtering, exactly 22 core texts retained their status in the musicology section of the Siku Kwanshu. A singular, dominant subject matter unites these 22 works across multiple centuries: the tuning of pitch pipes, a subject known as Lulu. Lulu refers to the acoustic mathematics and physical physics required to calculate exact musical pitches and frequencies. During the Song Dynasty, scholars studied this acoustic math, producing technical treatises like Cai Yunding's Lulu Xinshu. This focus continued into the Yuan Dynasty, evident in texts like Lu Zhen's Lulu Changshu, the completed book on pitch pipes. The court translated this calculated acoustic data into physical, spatial geometries through state-sanctioned ritual dance. Pitch pipe theory dictated choreography. The Yuan dynasty text Shaowu Juchen Yubu documented the regimented positions of dancers to visually reinforce the math. Massive bronze bells and stone lithophones served as the physical manifestations of this calculated Lulu data, with their dimensions dictated by these formulas. The contents of these 22 core texts prove that Yue operated as a discipline of acoustic physics, engineered to align the human court with the frequencies of the cosmos. Establishing this standard pitch required immense authority. Musical theory was governed directly from the highest seats of imperial power. State sponsorship is prominent. Many entries are imperially ordered. The Tang text Yeshu Yalu shows early imperial intervention in pitch. This peaked with massive Qing commissions like the Lulu Zhenyi, the exact meaning of pitch pipes, and its 128 Zhuan sequel. Why would powerful emperors personally fund exhaustive calculations of pipe lengths and bell weights? The court operated under a high-stakes political reality. An incorrect fundamental pitch was believed to disrupt the turning of the seasons, ruin the agricultural harvest, and invite rebellion. Standardizing Lulu was a mechanism of national security. Producing the correct pitch was the ultimate proof that the ruling dynasty held the mandate of heaven. Returning to this structural map of the Siku Quanshu, the Yue lay branch is now populated. A dense architectural web of technical Lulu texts surrounds the empty Yue Jing node. This collection of pitch-cap mathematics and reconstructed ritual manuals accounts for the missing volume. The missing classic was a lost mathematical standard of harmony. From the Zhao-era critiques to the massive Qing imperial orders, centuries of literature represent one continuous, cumulative effort to recalculate that single lost standard. In the traditional Chinese bibliographic worldview, studying music was the rigorous pursuit of quantifying and thereby controlling the fundamental order of the universe.